Now, our next speaker has been spreading the vegan message for many years now by way of some wonderful chicken nuggets you may have seen in our supermarkets across Australia, known as fries. Anyone know fries nuggets? Yeah? Are they the best? They are. Well, it's a pleasure to have one of the family members here. In fact, and the two in a row, the next two speakers. But first of all, please, if you welcome to the stage with all of your heart, Tammy Fry.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming by today. First, big ups to Mark and his team for putting today together. I think it's incredible. I think they deserve a big round of applause. Well done, Mark and team. I'm honored to be here, so really thank you for coming and taking the time to listen. Today I'm going to talk about effective advocacy for plant-based diets. This is a topic very close to my heart. We're going to keep today a little light-hearted, so feel free to laugh if I do something a little different. And put your hand up if you want to ask a question. Give me feedback if I ask you a question, so just keep it interactive. I want to make a disclaimer that this is not about maybe the vegan vision or the world of veganism that we want to see. This is more about how to change people's behaviors based on science and research, not on gut feel, but on science and research. And I've taken research from different places, or different industries, and then brought it into plant-based diets and see how we can learn from other industries and how we can better improve our own advocacy. I've been a vegetarian from birth, more recently vegan. I'm the director of Fries. I've been an athlete representing my country in karate, watch out, for over 10 years. So I currently do CrossFit as well. I have a plant-based blog. I run Meat Free Mondays, Australia and South Africa. So this is literally my bread and butter. I mean, vegan margarine. So if we were all going to be marketers in this room and we all were putting on our marketing hats and we were thinking of veganism as a brand, so this is our brand and we wanted to best portray our brand in the best way possible, we would have to we'd do a few steps as marketers. We would start off with our objective. What is our objective for our brand? So I've written it down, and you can put your hand up if you agree, and if you don't, it's probably better to leave right now. We all want to live in a world free from cruelty, where there is ample food for everyone, where wildlife and nature is thriving, and where people are living long, healthy lives. Agree? Yes, okay, good. So the good news about this objective that we have is that this is a universal truth. So if you went out into the world and you had to say to any of your friends, do you think this is your objective? They would say to you, yes. That is my objective. So our message should therefore resonate with other people pretty easily. The second thing we would do is we would identify our target market. So here you have two pictures. You have level 15 carnivore on the left. And on the right, you have a girl. She's pretty healthy. She's eating a salad. So as marketers, we would have a limited budget and limited resources to go and share our message. Think about companies, think about brands. This is your budget. As a marketer, you always want more, but you never get more because that is the budget. So you have a budget, you have resources, and you need to effectively communicate to the right people so that you don't waste your resources. So we have to look at these two pictures, and the lady on the right is definitely our target market. We're not going to change the guy on the left. He's not ready to hear our message. He's not there yet. So you've got to focus on the right kind of people. I don't know if any of you have been privileged enough to play omnivore bingo. If anybody's ever asked you if you have canine teeth and what they're used for, or they ask you about that darn deserted island, wherever it could be, or the fact that plants also feel pain. If they ask you any of those things, just walk away. Don't get involved in it. Don't try and change them. They're just not ready to hear your message. All you're going to do is upset yourself. That's all you're going to do. You're going to make it harder for yourself. You're going to leave feeling angry. So talk to people who are willing to hear your message. There are enough of them. There are definitely enough of them. So as we say, don't feed the trolls. So I don't know if you've seen this. This is called an innovation diffusion curve. This is where new technologies come into the world, or new innovations, and this is how people adopt those innovations and how they take them on into their lives, or how they take on brands. So you can see that the tipping point happens at 25%. So our research says that veganism in Australia is somewhere between 3 to 4%, and we have a long way to go to get to 20%. However, when we hit 20%, it becomes a lot easier. So the cost of becoming a vegan, or the cost for someone to follow a plant-based diet, reduces significantly at this point. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about cost later. And then we have to use not just gut feel, but the science that's come before, and learn from that, and then use it in our own advocacy. So we're going to look at some research that was done in the United States. This was the government trying to reduce energy consumption, and they put out different messages into about 1 million people's post boxes, and then they measured to see which message was most effective. So the first one was talking about, if you reduce your energy consumption, it'll be better for the environment. The next one was, if you reduce your energy, you will save money. And the third one was, if you reduce your energy, it's better for the community as a whole. And the fourth one was, everyone else is doing it, you better do it too. So I just want a show of hands. Who thinks which one was most effective? Was it number 1? Number 2? Number 3? Number 4? Okay, so people do what other people do. That is how human beings, we're like sheep. We just follow everybody. Everybody follows everybody. So you're correct. Most of you are correct. It's people, other people are doing it. So if we think about it as vegans, how can we use that? How do we use that to better our own advocacy? We we make sure that we're in groups of omnivores. We make sure that they can see that it's easy to become a vegan, because there's so many of them. We use data, like we say, did you know in Melbourne, 20% of people in Melbourne are actually vegetarian? Did you know that? And they'll turn around and say, no, I didn't know that. Well, everybody's doing it. You've got to get on board, man. It's a thing now. It's a trend. And I promise you, they'll go, oh, I wasn't aware. And their brain will start ticking. And just that little seed that you've planted will make them think about it more. There was another research done in Africa. It was a charity trying to raise money for people that were living in abject poverty. And they put out again advertising to try and raise money. The first piece of advertising that went out was focused on the sheer numbers of children who don't have access to food, water, and education. And those numbers are big. The second one was focused on one young girl and her daily struggles. So when she woke up in the morning, the fact that she didn't have food and she had to get to school, and it was very difficult for her. And the third one was a mixture of both of these. It was statistics and it was a story. Again, I want a show of hands. Who thinks that the statistics was the most effective? Hands up. Who thinks that the story was most effective? And who thinks that a mixture of the both of them was most effective? Okay, so it was very interesting. I was even surprised that the story raised more than both the others together. So if we look at organizations around us, like Animals Australia and Edgar's Mission, they've done an incredible job of sharing stories of animals. The animals have a name. And guess how many views they get on YouTube? Millions. Because people actually feel compassionate about that one animal. They can't think about the 75 billion cows that were slaughtered. They can't even fathom that. That's beyond them. But they are worried about the one cow. And it's not necessarily only about animals. It's also about human beings. So talking about your uncle who was dying of heart disease, and he went onto a plant-based diet, and guess what? Heart disease gone. The guy who's listening to you will say, really, that's amazing. But if you tell him 50,000 people last year, they all cured themselves of heart disease, It's not going to have as an emotional effect on them. And then Fry's commissioned some research last year. 150,000 people responded. These were all meat eaters, not vegetarians and vegans. And we asked, which of these messages would get you to reduce your meat consumption? So not to go vegan, just to reduce your meat consumption. Again, a show of hands. Animals, animal welfare. The environment. Hunger, world hunger, humanitarians. Health, 100%, health. But what do we do as animal advocates? We go and we tell them about the cows and the pigs. But we never talk about health. And the reason why we don't talk about health is we don't have enough information, and we worry that they're going to say to us, what about omegas? What about iron? And you don't have the information to answer. And that's a big problem. We have to empower ourselves with more knowledge on various subjects. This is terrible, right? I mean, 84% of vegetarians and vegans return to meat. Fact. And that's terrible. That's a big problem. So we need to get to understand why that is and how we can stop that from happening. How can we have people on plant-based diets for the rest of their lives being strong and healthy? So Fry's has a term that we use. It's called getting your foot in the door. And we feel that once somebody has associated themselves with plant-based living or meat-free Mondays, once it's formed part of their self-identity, that the second and the third step are a lot easier. So once they're doing meat-free Mondays, they just can't go back to eating meat. And then they say, well, I should actually do this 5 days a week. No, really, I should do this every week, and I'll just have a steak on the weekend. And then eventually they just cut out meat altogether. Now, we know that that works because, again, we commissioned research. It was the same research. There were 150,000 respondents. And we found that 1 in 6 people who started Meat-Free Mondays had gone vegan in a year. 1 in 6 people, so that's 16%. So if we talk about that innovation diffusion curve that I spoke about right at the beginning, if 16% of Australians went onto a plant-based diet in just 1 year, we'd be having a whole different conversation. So that's pretty awesome. Year 2 was even greater. So very, very exciting stuff happening there. And then we need to focus on what is our message. Do we want people to go vegan, or do we want people to eat less meat? And I think our message should be eat less meat, because the research that we have has pointed in this direction. They will go vegan on their own, but they can't take themselves from eating steak to eating lentils. Maybe they can go to Fry's, but probably not lentils. So it's a very big jump for most people. That's a huge jump. So we have to lower the bar of compassion. And I'll give you a little analogy. If you were sitting at a pub with your friends, having a beer, and you said to your group of friends, you said, hey guys, let's climb that mountain over there. It's like a hectic mountain, like right at let's go up there and we'll climb the mountain. The view will be awesome from the top. Your friends are going to turn around and say, geez, bud, something wrong with you. We're having a beer here. We're not going to climb the mountain. You climb the mountain, we'll watch you. That's the standard response. Am I right? That's what they're going to say. But if you said to them, it's a bit hot in here. Let's go sit outside and drink our beer outside. They'll say, oh, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. I'll do that. Let's all go. So they'll sit outside with you. Then you'll look up at a point sort of like quarter way up the mountain. You say, if we just walk there, we'll have a great view of the sunset. Let's take our beers. We'll walk up there with our beers. The chances are maybe they come with you. Maybe you leave 1 or 2, but the rest they'll come. And eventually you'll be standing at the top of the mountain with your group of friends, and you would have achieved something that you thought would not have been possible in the beginning. So this is an analogy to show you that by lowering the bar and making it easier for people, we can achieve much greater results. So what do we want? Do we want a vegan-only club where if you're not level 15 raw, fruitarian, you just don't make the grade? Or do we want an inclusive club where people, even if they're flexitarians, can be part of it? And we embrace them and we bring them in and we allow them to be part of that club that we have. Too often, I think our advocacy is focused on the problems and not the solutions. So things that are easy to us are not easy to other people that haven't done them before. We need to overcome this barrier of taste. We need to talk about what tastes good. Now, Fry's does sampling all over the world. We work with Animals Equality. We work with hundreds of animal rights organizations. And the research that we've got back from that says that 4 in 5 people, once they've eaten a Fry's nugget, I'm not being biased to Fry's, once they've eaten a Fry's nugget, 4 out of 5 people will definitely consider reducing their meat consumption. Without having said anything else, without having said, do you know about the animals? Do you know about the environment? Do you know about starving people? Without having said any of that, and just giving them something that tastes good, they would consider it. They go, oh, well, that tastes good. Oh, I'll eat that on a Monday, no problem. So we have to think that's probably a great way of getting people to consider how they should reduce their meat consumption. Telling people to shop at the corner store, like around the back there, somewhere, it's fine for us, but for most people, that's hell of an inconvenience. They don't want to go there. They go to Coles and Woolworths. So by showcasing what's available in Coles and Woolworths makes it easier. It lowers the bar of compassion. It makes it easy for people. By socializing with meat eaters and omnivores, by going to a barbecue and standing there where the other stuff's being cooked, I know it's terrible, you got to look at it, and putting your burgers on the side is really important. You have to do that. You have to by sitting at the salad table, everybody's going to look at you and say, I don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to eat broccoli and cauliflower at the salad table. I'm sorry, it's too hectic for me. I want to be able to stand over the fire and cook something. So it's important to do that. And then so often I've spoken to vegetarians who tell me, but you don't actually have to eat protein at all. You can just be on a carb diet, just carbs, and you'll be fine. That's like telling most people that you'll be fine. If you never drink water again, you'll be cool. You'll be fine. So that's a big step for people. No more protein, guys. Just eat the potatoes. You'll be awesome. So it is important not to focus on what they shouldn't eat. It's about saying, this is where you get plant protein, easily. Even more than you get from meat, even more. Have you seen these guys that like doing CrossFit or athletes that are training and they are on plant-based diets and they're getting their protein in an easy format? Using familiar words. Telling them about tempeh and and tofu. For a lot of people, these are things that they're not familiar with. It's a huge step for someone who's never eaten. They can't fathom. Like these guys spoke about tempeh. I don't know what it is, and then it's gone. Just talking about things that people eat every day. This is really important, our own psychology. So we have to make the decision. Do we want to be advocates or do we want to be individuals? So we have to, it's a tough decision. You're either an advocate or you're an individual. Individuality, nobody's got a problem with that. You can have blue hair, you can have dreadlocks, you can tattoo from head to toes. Doesn't matter, you can be an individual. That's fantastic. If you want to be an advocate, you have to blend into society. Because it's an absolute fact that people will listen to you if you are more like them. The moment you are different, they do not want to listen to you anymore. The greatest animal advocate of all time at the moment, Nick Cooney, used to look like that. He actually looked worse than that, but had even longer hair, and he was like a crazy guy. And he realized that he wants to be an advocate. So he put on a suit and he shaved his hair, and everybody listened to him because he was more like his audience. So we have to decide that. Do we want to be like people or do we want to be individuals? And either of those is fine. Either of those is absolutely fine. I'm not saying one is wrong or the other one's right, but that's a decision that we all have to make. And then remember that your impact on what other people eat is greater than the impact that you can have as an individual. So this is really important because I often hear vegans or people in a group of talking about what they eat. And sometimes they're bringing that bar of compassion, they're just bringing it too high for the guy listening. They start talking about vegan wine, vegan beer, vegan sugar, all of these things. And the person who's listening is thinking, I can't be that perfect, but I just can't do it. I'm never going to be a vegan. Instead of, not talking so much about what you eat, but talking to them about how they can have a less impact. And then collaborating, I think this is really critical. There are so many, I don't know, maybe 25,000 people came here today. That's a lot of people that could join hands and work together to promote what we're so passionate about. There's so many organizations out there and they're doing their own thing, but maybe it's time that we come together more often. And this is something that Fry's is passionate about. We work with the Sea Shepherds. We support every time they need food. We send food to the ships. We really are trying our best to collaborate with organizations that share the same values and ethics. Knowledge is power, as I said to you. Make sure you know everything that there is. If you want to be an advocate for plant-based diets, you need to go and study nutrition. There's a great course, Cornell University, great course on plant-based nutrition. Please read the China study. Read everything you can. Read everything you can about all the animal rights issues going on at the moment. Understand the environmental, know every fact. How much water is required to produce 1 kg of beef? You should know that. It's 16,000 liters, in case you don't. How much of the grain crops and soy crops are fed to livestock? We should know that. Because people are going to say to you, they're going to ask you questions. You've got to know. 70% of the current grain crops that are grown today are not given to human beings, given to livestock, to feed these 79 billion live animals that are slaughtered every single year. So you have to arm yourself with the facts so that you can answer people when they talk to you. And I just want to finish off by saying you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So whale oil was a thing 40, 50 years ago. And people stopped slaughtering the whales, not necessarily because of advocacy, but because cheaper oils became available. Capitalism saved whale oil. Uber is replacing cars. Cars replaced horses. Tesla is replacing fossil-fueled cars. And Fry's will replace meat. Thank you.